Hi guys, my name is Daryl Carl. Thanks for making a date once again. In our first story, government says it would conclude the gas export agreement with Tullow Oil by next month. This should aid the flow of gas from the Chunibwa Enura into 10 oil field to the Atuabo processing plant in Takoradi in the western region. Now, there are fears that the country could get back into serious power crisis as government delays in settling on the price to purchase each volume of gas exported. The Jubilee field, the main source of gas for the country, would be shut down for almost 12 weeks from September. The Deputy Energy Minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, says there is no cause for alarm.
I know that there are discussions between the parties, GIPC and the other parties, to the extent that we should get a gas sales agreement by the end of August to allow for the partners to supply gas from 10. And I know that they are working so hard behind the scenes. And I know that my minister, the Minister of Energy, has been putting all the necessary support into these discussions to ensuring that we achieve the August deadline for the gas sales agreement to be signed. Because as you know, Jubilee is going down for some time. And unless we are able to get an alternate fuel to be able to sustain power production, we may have some challenges. And so we are concerned about that. And therefore, the minister has started discussions with the 10 partners to allow for them to supply gas when Jubilee goes off, even if we are not able to sign the gas sales agreement by the end of August. But I can assure you that considering the level of work done and the urgency attached to this work, we should be able to get a gas sales agreement by the end of August.
Some have said that this has taken quite a long time, and what do you make of this concern, looking at the fact that we all knew earlier this year that Jubilee will go down in the third quarter? Finalizing this agreement, offering a good price or taking that good price or reviewing the price that is being offered has taken quite a longer time.
I mean, we came in and realized that the 10 project was far ahead of the negotiation for gas price. And we decided that as a government, we were going to give attention to that negotiation, because if the project was completed and there was no gas price, how were you going to supply gas from the 10 field? And it's the level of attention we gave to it that is resulting into the anticipation that we will have a gas sales agreement by August. But you also know that these negotiations involve a lot of modeling, a lot of computation of cost, and you want them to do the right thing so that everybody is happy about the outcome of the negotiation. But as I indicated, we are very confident that with the push which the Honorable Minister is giving to this negotiation, we should be able to get a gas sales agreement by the end of August.
Well, some players in the banking industry maintain that the setbacks facing the energy sector are also an impediment to the growth of the banking industry in Ghana. The World Bank, in a recent report, described Ghana's energy sector as performing below expectation and called on the government to fix the problems to ensure the country's economic growth is not affected. Speaking to Joy Business after the launch of UMB's 45th anniversary celebration, CEO of UMB, John Ewa, noted the shortfalls in the energy sector hamper the financing of industries as well as banking.
I do not think we are at a level where we will say that banks in Ghana have arrived. There are challenges in the environment. You are aware of the issues we had with the energy sector. It is banks that fund the energy sector. So if the energy sector is struggling, then it means that financial institutions may be struggling. And that will affect industry. If there is no energy, industry struggles to perform, and industry is financed by banks. So those pockets of incidences have, to some extent, affected the industry. But generally, I would say we have solid financial sector. We just need to close our ranks, talk some more, so we can integrate our practices and our procedures in terms of our approach to the customer. So one customer does not do something very, very bad in one bank and get away with it by just moving to another bank.
In other news tonight, government says it is working with the Ghana Revenue Authority to intensify tax compliance measures to help meet revenue target for the year. This follows its inability to meet revenue target for the first 4 months of this year. George Affe tells us more.
This is one of the large taxpayers' units of the Ghana Revenue Authority, where businesses come here to file their tax returns. For the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority, they believe that a lot more needs to be done to encourage these firms to meet their tax obligations. And the fact that they're going to actually do more and review their strategies to encourage these firms to walk in here and pay their taxes. Now, all these initiatives have been influenced by the fact that for the first 4 months of this year, revenue hasn't been doing that well. Taxes paid by companies in terms of the target that was set for this year or for the first 4 months of this year hasn't been doing well. Government was hoping to do more than 12 billion Ghana cedis for the first 4 months of this year. But as of now, they've done a little over 8 billion Ghana cedis. And that is why the Ministry of Finance believes that they need to do more collaboration or work closely with the Ghana Revenue Authority to actually improve compliance and ensure that businesses are encouraged, incentivized, and motivated to pay their taxes. Whichever way you want to look at it, there are some who believe that a lot more needs to be done if businesses will voluntarily walk into these offices to pay their taxes. Well, as I walk out of this building, so for some people, it looks like the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance's work is cut out for them if they indeed want to meet the over 44 billion Ghana cedis total revenue and grants target that they've set out for themselves. Well, maybe some might say, wish them all the best so that they can meet the target to meet their own infrastructure obligations as well as expenditure. From the Ghana Revenue Authority office here, this is George Affe reporting for Business Live.
In other news tonight, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, has indicated plans to reconsider the capital requirement for potential foreign investors. Under the GIPC Act, a minimum capital of $500,000 in cash or capital goods is required from a foreign investor in any area of economic activity except trading. But speaking to Joy Business at the stakeholder meeting with public sector institutions, Chief Executive of the GIPC, Yofi Grant, said they are considering a review as part of measures to attract foreign direct investment.
Under the GIPC Act, a minimum capital of not less than $500,000 in cash or capital goods is required from a foreign investor who wants to go into any area of economic activity except trading. The requirement, according to the center, has been a hindrance to its quest to attract more investors for the country, hence the need for a review of the law. This is said to be one of the incentives by the GIPC to attract foreign direct investment, FDI. Chief Executive of the GIPC, Yofi Grant, in an interview with Joy Business, highlighted the need to review the original capital requirement for investors.
Capital requirements, and I think there's a misunderstanding. We don't say that we are only saying we require to show that you brought in that amount of money. Because then we can enable you to take out your money and your profits unencumbered. And yes, they are there. But if we are hearing and we are seeing that people think that the capital limits have not done anything for us, then why do we have them? So we need to investigate all these things. If we have laws that are not doing anything positive for us, we need to change them. And if we change them, would it result in something negative? So you need to look at all these things. It's not just, it's easy to say, well, we don't think it's useful. But we do the analysis after we hear what people say.
Yofi Grant also disclosed that many of the policies initiated by the current government have begun yielding results from the economy.
The One District, One Factory has also attracted a lot of interest, investment interest. And recently, in our trip to China, for example, one company, China Machinery and Equipment, signed a 2 billion MOU to support the One District, One Factory. They signed it with the AGI and the government of Ghana. We've seen, I have had requests from Turkish companies who are very keen to give financial support in equipment manufacturing to support agriculture, because they also heard about the planting for food and jobs, which they think is a significant transformational policy. And then there are some too who are very clear that they want to play a role in the One Dam, One Village policy. And there are some who want to go into education, there are some who want to go into health. And we encourage our Ghanaian business people to take advantage of such opportunities as well.
As part of long-term measures to transform the center, the GIPC will be converted into Economic Development Board. This is to enable the center to take certain key economic decisions for the country.
We are moving on to another big story we are following for you today. President Akufo-Addo says government has committed $10 million as seed fund for the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan, which was launched earlier today. The plan is set to stimulate private sector growth, create more jobs, and expand the economy. Speaking at the launch, the president said the plan will also provide tax incentives to startups to help them survive in the early stages of setting up businesses.
Despite the severe constraints of our public finances, which have resulted from years of mismanagement and corruption, government has contributed $10 million as seed money for the plan. It is the intention that this seed money should be leveraged to raise money from private sources and public organizations to the tune of $100 million to fund its program. Ladies and gentlemen, the overall objective of this plan is to stimulate private sector growth at the early stages of businesses, to accelerate job creation, and to provide entrepreneurial Ghanaian youth with a critical alternative to salaried employment. It will help their businesses to grow and compete domestically and internationally. The National Entrepreneurship and Innovations Plan will, amongst others, 1, provide tax incentives for startups owned by young entrepreneurs. 2, incentivize and partner private sector investors to set up business incubator hubs and industrial parks for youth-owned businesses nationally. 3, establish a youth enterprise fund which will be leveraged to attract private capital to fund startups. 4, provide a ready market for the products and services of startups through the reservation of a percentage of the proposed 70% of local content public procurement contracts.
The president also defended the recently introduced VAT flat rate scheme, the 3% VAT rate scheme, and he says that plus other policies are meant to boost the economy.
We have abolished a lot of taxes, such as the 1% special import levy, 5% VAT on real estate sales, 17.5% VAT on domestic airline tickets, 17.5% VAT on financial services, 17.5% on selected imported medicines that are not produced locally, and have reintroduced the 3% flat VAT rate for traders. I know that some traders are having problems with the reintroduction of the 3% flat VAT rate, but I'm confident that as time goes by, the objectives of the policy will be better appreciated and embraced. All these measures are being undertaken to stimulate enterprise activity and growth. Very soon, we shall reap the benefits of more jobs and an expanding economy.
So that was President Akufo-Addo speaking at the launch of the National Entrepreneurship Plan. And speak about entrepreneurship, 2 Ghanaian entrepreneurs have been named in the 2017 Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Forbes, an American business magazine, every year recognizes 30 young, promising entrepreneurs under the age of 30. The Ghanaian entrepreneurs named Aloysius Atta, there you see in your shots, founder of Farmerline, a software company that builds technologies to connect farmers to information, financial tools and supply chains in agriculture, as well as Sean Drake, founder of the Wealth Project Holdings, a sustainable investment holding company focused on social impact through financial services and education in Africa. There you go, Sean Drake's in your shots, I believe, in a moment. More than half of the honorees were from Southern Africa. Heading now to the Ashanti region, door hinges, bolts and nuts are common accessories in all Ghanaian homes. Unfortunately, the once booming trade is suffering a downturn. As to why, well, JoyNews' Kwesi Deborah visits a blacksmith and has filed the following report.
Alex Kofi dropped out of school in his teen age to learn a trade as a blacksmith at Swami Magazine. It's been 20 years since he completed his apprenticeship, having specialized in the manufacture of bolts and nuts. Government had in the past provided avenue for his products. The story, however, is different today.
I always manufacture bolts and nuts. That is the work we always do. So then time, the government will always help us to get a lot of jobs to do in the shop. Bolts and nuts, center bolts, plug extension, and a lot of things. We have a lot of work to do. We always form bulging pins which they use to form gates and some arrows. We have a lot of work to do in the blacksmith work. But a time ago, I could remember that the work has dropped down or the work has fallen. Why? Because in my side, I can say the import of those things that break our job today.
With the dwindling fortunes of boot and nuts business, Alex has now turned into manufacturer of door hinges. Somehow, that is beginning to suffer similar fate. Kwesi Appiah is a building contractor who used to work with locally made bolts and nuts and hinges. He stopped using them 3 years ago because his clients rather prefer imported materials for finishing. Besides, the local ones must be reworked.
Yeah, and the local ones, problem you want to say at times, and can be a problem.
The local ones aren't well done. Clients always complain. All the time, they prefer the imported ones because they are smooth and have no rough edges.
And basana so nedoso. It all the time I prefer foreign one.
Adjoa Comfort says she was once contracted by foreign partners to stock foreign hinges, which she had initially rejected. She had to rescind her decision because of the demand for smoother and more shiny hinges. Imported hinge of this size goes for 5 cedis, and the local one for 4 cedis. Adjoa says users are never bothered by the price difference. Clients always tell me the locally made hinges are time-consuming, she says. I believe with enough machines, the local ones can become competitive. As government prepares to roll out initiatives for small and medium-scale industries, finishing will be key. Will the local industry be able to compete effectively with the foreign ones? Your guess is as good as mine. Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
You're watching Business Live. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. Time now for our interview of the day. And the General Agricultural Workers Union, GAU, says government has so far adopted ad hoc approaches to arresting the fall armyworm invasion on farmlands in parts of the country. The General Secretary of GAU, Edward Karowe, who spoke with Joy Business, says that 16 million Ghana cedis committed so far by government is woefully inadequate compared with the extent of damage caused.
Interview of the day.
Number of hectares that have been invaded continue to increase day by day. You know, we all started by saying that only some few thousands of hectares have been invaded, 5,000 to 10,000, and now we are over 100,000 hectares of farmlands that have been invaded by the armyworm. That is the true state of the situation on the ground.
Our checks, and together with that of the CSIL, does indicate that Ghana government has lost in excess of $64 million in the wake of this very invasion. What does GAU have to say about this? Is this more or is less?
Well, I would think that these are even conservative figures, you know, in the sense that by the time or they are temporary figures, they are provisional figures, they are not conclusive. And by the time probably we'll be able to deal with the fall armyworm, we'll be losing up to 100 million Ghana cedis worth of farmlands and produce and so on. So the figures are right. The fact that we are unable to control it, and the fact that it is destroying the core of our economy, the fact that it is also destroying the foundation upon which a new model of modernization and industrialization of our economy is based on is critical. And if that foundation is shaken to its base, then of course it will be very difficult to realize the dreams that we have to modernize our economy and to industrialize our economy per the general policy framework of the government.
Interview of the day.
And that's our program tonight. Of course, you can always keep up to date on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. You can always get an update on our big story, perhaps for today, the president launching the National Entrepreneurship and Investment Plan. Of course, all the videos that you missed out on are on the website. My name is Darryl Kwao. We're back tomorrow.